Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or whatever time you're in. I just watched a video by a young lady named Kitty Noir. Just subscribed to her channel. Her channel also. She got my brain to thinking about some things. Um, I'm noticing a trend with millennials and Gen Z of kind of dropping out of organized religions and deity belief or worship over the years. It's to me over the past decade. I'm actually a little older than Kennedy. I'm actually in my early 40s, and me personally, I don't like. I kind of get anxious when it comes to titles. I don't like calling myself an atheist per se or agnostic. I don't like calling myself like even when I had belief and stuff. I didn't like calling myself Christian or whatever. I don't like those type of titles anyway because I believe that people are a reflection of whatever mindset they're in. And when you put a title on something like that, you kind of marginalize yourself. There's a there's connotations that comes with all of these titles that people they're going to impose on you, no matter what faith you believe, or even if it's atheism, so to speak, or agnosticism, whatever. People are going to marginalize you for these terms. I think that's the reason why I don't necessarily like it. But as far as my own personal beliefs, I wouldn't call it atheism because for a long time I kind of struggled with what is out there, like what is the purpose, what is the meaning of life, and I believe the way we think is a culmination of our experiences. When you have people who you see examples of whatever faith that they grew up in, I think the main thing for a lot of people, specifically Black people in, let's say, Christianity in America, we see people operate under the guise of Christianity and under different sects, whether it's Catholicism, Baptist, Methodist, Seventh Day Adventist, uh, list goes on, Methodist, Pentecostal, it's all kind of flavors of Christianity, Jehovah's Witnesses, and at the end of the day, we understand the tenets, specifically if we read the literature that's involved, like the Bible per se. There's very many different versions of the Bible, and we try to hold the people up to a standard of that particular document that is called the Holy Bible, whatever rendition it is. And we always see a common theme that these people don't really live up to the standard that that so-called belief system is supposed to set, that they're supposed to be up under. And I started to realize that at some point that in order to find God, you have to look through man. So let's just go with the story that God created man in his image, right? In order, if you're looking and interacting with people and you don't have a connection to this deity that supposedly created us, you're going to automatically assume that the way we are, you're going to relate it back to the deity that supposedly created us, right? So that's so that within itself is going to make that deity flawed because humans are flawed, at least up to the standards that we are told to believe. Now, me personally, I don't believe in the traditional Judeo-Christian uh, version or flavor of a deity. I don't think that what people would call a god exists, the biblical term. Abrahamic religions, etc. Right? If anything, I'm open to the suggestion that this is all a simulation because there's a simulation theory. If you look that up on YouTube, where this is a simulation and we're just interacting in the simulation and we're just going about our business. So, but if this is a simulation, someone or something or somewhere is running the program or started the program. And I don't think that if this is, to me, if this is a simulation, it's a non-personal simulation. It doesn't, it is not concerned with the program. The program just runs itself. You know what I mean? But I think that people get a lot of the reason why the people lose quote unquote faith is because man has failed them to the point in their life that they feel like there's no way there's a God that's in charge of all of this, right? Things didn't go as I planned in life, or life isn't what it's supposed to be, supposed to mean to me like it is for everyone else. And you become like an outsider. And in these times here, I can definitely see how anybody can come to that conclusion who doesn't fit in a specific mold of faith. You know, there are people out there who get that's all they do every day. They read, they get up, read the Bible, read their holy text, whatever. If it's not the Bible, something else. They say their prayers. They find solace in that. They find resolve. They find purpose in that. I think human beings, the way our brains work, we have to give ourselves a pattern in order to help us comprehend and stay on the path of whatever we're trying to do. Like the way Kennedy said in one part of her video, where she talked about how this Christian lady helped her along with understanding certain things, that she believed that she didn't need her faith to be the person that she is. To me personally, I believe that the human being who gives the authority and the power of whatever they believe in, the power, I think that motivates them to be what they want to be. So technically, I kind of disagree with what you're saying. That if it wasn't for her faith, she'd still be who she is. Because I've seen people where before they found faith and after they found faith, it's a totally different person. And I think some people need whatever faith that they believe in to be who they want to be in this life that we live in. Um, it just whatever your own personal being needs to motivate it to be to get where you want to go, so to speak. And I think that's the key. Um, I think religion in totality isn't a good thing for human beings. I think at some point we need to get past that and become realists because the way the world works when it comes to business, finance, economics, nationalism, um, just how the world works, it doesn't move to the beat of any so-called spiritual force, non-entity, or some type of enigmatic force. I believe it's everything that we make it to be when it comes to um, the real tangible things of life. Human beings dictate all that we are. And when we think about it, we terraform this whole planet basically to fit the human need. Homes are not something that you have to pray for. Human beings have to take material, put it together, and make it work. Cars are not something that you can just abracadabra and it appears. Human beings have to take physical matter, put it together as we see fit. And I think those of us who realize that understands the fundamental reason why reality is the way it is, then but the masses of people are going to go with giving the power to something else. I want to wrap this up, but I really feel where you're coming from because I've gone through different levels of that. I just don't like the term atheist, so to speak, because you kind of marginalize yourself, and you can use it if you want to. I'm not trying to dictate to you, but there's a stigma that comes with a title like atheist, just like it is with Christianity. I'm a Christian, or I'm a Muslim, or I'm a, whatever. It's something that human beings going to assign and put you in a box when you put that title on yourself, and that's what makes me uncomfortable when people do it, specifically with Black people. I just think that when we get to that level of not accepting a former religion or deity as the credit for everything, as master of the universe, so to speak, we have a better understanding of how reality works. The only thing is the masses of people aren't on that same script. It's always like a niche amount of people that kind of understands that. And there does need to be a community. And to me, I think, like if you look into the fantasy world, you kind of if you're aware of like Star Trek, the whole lore of Star Trek, the little sci-fi show or whatever, and movies and stuff, they got away from um they was only able to excel once they got a lot of their dogma out of the way and just start seeing themselves for the reality of what it is. They was able to become a highly functioning, elevating species on Earth, where a lot of the currency and all of the trappings of society started to erode, and we started advancing. I think that's the way to go once people snap out of the spell of religion, and I think that's ideally where humanity needs to go in the real world. Outside of that, but that's just my 2 cents. Salute to you, and I'm going to put in your comments to look at the video I'm about to post.